One morning that was supposed to be calm, the sky over Israel suddenly turned into a scene from a horror movie. Missiles from Yemen, previously perhaps considered just a loud noise from a country said to have nothing, suddenly struck right at the heart of Israel's military industry. Not a guard post, not an empty warehouse, but a tank factory, the official production site of combat vehicles. The irony of fate, isn't it? The factory, built to protect the country, turned out to be the most unprotected place. The tanks are sturdy, but the factory proved as fragile as an influencer's psyche under attack on social media. The explosion, according to eyewitnesses, was heard several kilometers away. A thick column of smoke rose into the sky, and residents of nearby houses thought it was a military exercise. Sure, if they used such special effects for military drills, Hollywood could outsource war movie production. The Houthis, according to information from an alleged insider who saw the ruins, left the building not just damaged but more like a failed project that couldn't be sold at auction. The tanks in the process of assembly turned into heaps of metal, resembling the aftermath of a collision between drunken transformers. And what's even more interesting, Israel's defense system, meant to be a concrete barrier in the sky, turned out to be just a complicated alarm. The missiles passed through, the system stayed silent. Maybe it was waiting for a password, or perhaps it was busy updating its firmware. The missiles didn't ask for permission, they just flew in. Maybe Israel forgot to install an entrance door. What makes the situation even more heated is that these missiles didn't just set a project back, they delivered a direct blow to the face of Israel's military project. Imagine spending years building a tank factory, pouring billions of dollars into production, only for it all to be destroyed by an explosion from a country that's supposedly insignificant. Yemen, a country whose economy is often seen as a disaster statistic, proved capable of delivering a blow comparable to a final boss. Yemen said, "Surprise!" And all of Israel's radar systems could only gape, like an AI faced with an exam question. Strangely, Israel's mainstream media stayed silent. Some say they're awaiting orders. Others claim the journalists are in shock from what they saw. But social media users couldn't stay quiet. Videos of explosions, surveillance camera footage, and the sounds of blasts went viral. Some even edited videos with Eminem's background music, because the atmosphere felt like a diss track, Missile Edition. If these missiles were a political message, their content is clear. We can make you tremble without leaving our caves. And unfortunately, Israel's tank factory became proof that these aren't empty words. Your tanks may be strong, but what good are they if they're blown up first? It's like buying expensive shoes you don't get to wear because thieves stole them. Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's prime minister, who usually appears stern, resolute, and loves delivering threatening speeches, suddenly became a tragic character in a political series about the reality of the Middle East. 2 days without food, without enough water, even without appearing in public, left many bewildered. Has Netanyahu declared a hunger strike? Or is he filming a documentary about a man who lost the meaning of life? According to leaks from his inner circle, Netanyahu refuses all food prepared by his staff, from elite salads typical of ministerial cabinets to warm lunchboxes that, rumor has it, were his favorite dish during military meetings. Everything is rejected. Some even say he's more willing to endure international criticism than eat a plate of food. Netanyahu hasn't eaten in 2 days, perhaps because the tank factory he was so proud of was destroyed more than his New Year's plans. Those around him are starting to worry, not just about his physical condition, but because with each passing day, his face increasingly resembles a caricature from a satirical magazine. Deeply sunken eyes, an empty gaze, and a voice that, according to rumors, has started to tremble like a Wi-Fi signal that comes and goes. Some aides suggested he rest, but according to them, Netanyahu only responded with a blank stare, like someone who just realized, "My country isn't as strong as I described in my speeches." Usually threats flew from his mouth like bullets, but now only a hoarse sound escapes, like a damaged cassette being rewound. This hunger strike, of course, isn't a social action in the style of Gandhi. It's more a manifestation of psychological exhaustion, when a leader doesn't know how to cope with a reality where his country can be devastated by missiles from Yemen, a country they always look down on. Yemen, barely visible on a map if you fold it, is now making Israel tremble. Political psychologists call this a form of collective trauma manifested on a personal level. Imagine spending half your life selling the illusion of military might, only to be defeated by missiles from an enemy without an air force. It must feel like training in martial arts for 10 years, then getting beaten up by kindergartners with spoons. Netanyahu's silence gave way to his political opponents. Someone sarcastically remarked, "If our leader is fasting, who's giving him solutions?" The more radical ones say, if 2 days without food make him think clearer, let's pray he lasts 7 days. Israel needs a strategy, not a leader sulking like a child denied an iPad. Of course, his supporters try to defend him. Some claim Netanyahu is undertaking a spiritual fast, but the public isn't fooled. If it's a spiritual fast, why is his security preparing doctors and IV drips? Is he planning to fast in a hospital? The reality is simple. Netanyahu couldn't withstand the psychological blow of seeing the symbol of his country's strength destroyed in one night. And like many other political figures who've stood at the pinnacle of power too long, when he stumbled, he didn't fall slowly. He plunged straight into the pit he dug himself. After Yemen's missiles successfully obliterated the tank factory like a Lego set hit by a grenade, the effect quickly spread to the heart of Israel's forces. It wasn't just military assets that were destroyed. Worse, the military's confidence collapsed along with the factory's roof. The troops, until now considered among the most advanced and invincible in the Middle East, suddenly became scouts lost in a forest. They're disoriented, panicking, scrambling to turn on a GPS that doesn't work. They say Israel's troops underwent rigorous training, but for what? To watch their tank factory explode live on surveillance cameras? The atmosphere in barracks and command posts has drastically changed. Normally, a military spirit prevailed, with shouts and combat orders. Now it's more like a clinic waiting room, silent, full of bewildered people with faces that seem to have grasped the futility of life. There are unofficial reports from some young soldiers who started asking, if missiles can breach our defense, why do we train every day to march in formation at funerals? Our soldiers, they say, are better prepared for war than anyone, but in reality, they seem more ready to be spectators of their own destruction. Meanwhile, in the upper echelons of military leadership, the situation is no less absurd. Some generals, according to rumors, with pale faces, are reviewing strategies. An employee confessed to seeing a high-ranking officer stand for 3 hours in front of a map without saying a word. Maybe he was looking for an undo button in the corner of the map. Even funnier, some senior officials started blaming each other. They accused the defense system of being slow, intelligence of not knowing about the impending attack, and some even blamed the weather. Yes, the weather. Maybe they hope a storm will automatically shoot down missiles before they reach their target. If their excuses get any more absurd, they'll soon say the missiles made a mistake, thinking the tank factory was their enemy. The troops' morale is plummeting. Many regular drills have been canceled, and some battalions are even requesting transfers to safer locations. Safer than missiles? Underground or on Mars? Meanwhile, on Israel's internet, the situation is heating up too. Soldiers, who usually actively update training information, are now sharing more memes, expressing hopelessness in satirical videos. Some even record TikTok videos with the sound of air raid sirens and captions like, "Us every time the defense system forgets to turn on." When your soldiers are better at editing memes than fighting missiles, you realize something's wrong with the recruitment system. Behind all this lies an unspoken fear. It's not about the war itself, but the illusions. Israel always relied on the notion of its military superiority. When it was massively attacked by missiles from a group it considered third-rate, the psychological effect was stronger than the explosions themselves. And the funniest, or saddest depending on your perspective, is that these missiles weren't just a show of force, but a reality slap. A hard hit saying, "Welcome to the real world." Here, all propaganda can be shattered by a single explosion. Normally, when a small country attacks a major power's military facilities, the world rises up. Press conferences are called, condemnations echo, journalists publish news relentlessly. But this time, the world stayed silent, as if it saw a movie spoiler and pretended to know nothing. Maybe they're baffled. How could Yemen, a country deemed a failure, managed to knock another country out of production. Yemen, until now, just a statistic of war victims, a poverty graph, and an example of child suffering, suddenly stepped onto the world stage as the winner of an impromptu contest. Once an object of humanitarian aid, it's now an object of geopolitical fear. Some Western countries started getting nervous, but pretend everything's fine. The U.S. issued a diplomatic statement. We're monitoring the situation, though everyone knows it's code for, we're in shock, but don't want to admit we didn't see it coming. Israel lost momentum too. Normally, after every attack, a wave of international support surges, prayers from world leaders, diplomatic bouquets. Now most are silent or pretending to be busy discussing Europe's weather. It's cold, bro. No time to talk about tank explosions. The irony is that some countries that joined